Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Digital to Dice podcast. I am Dave.
I'm Ron.
And Ron, this is episode 84. What do you got?
This is the Randy Moss edition.
I thought you were going to go with Antonio Brown.
Oh, yeah, because I'm all about modern football.
He just won a Super Bowl, you know. Just throwing that out there. Anyway, we got a terrific show here today. We talk with Mark Zarb, who was the person responsible for the redesign of APBA Hockey, which would be version 2 of APBA Hockey. So we had a lengthy discussion with him on APBA Hockey and APBA Football, by the way. And so we're going to get to that in 1 second. Ways to get a hold of us. DigitalToDice.com is the website where we put all the podcasts over on Spreaker. 978-751-DICE. 978-751-3423 is the Dice line. Send us a text. Say hi. DigitalToDice@yahoo.com is the email. And over on Facebook, Facebook.com/groups/DigitalToDice. So, Ron, without further ado,
let's do it.
Let's talk to Mark. Here we go. Joining us on the Dice line is the person who redesigned APBA Hockey and it became version 2, Mark Zarb. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Good to be here. I was flattered when I heard you guys wanted me on. But
thanks for coming on.
No worries.
Now, how this whole thing started is, as the audience knows, I've been playing a lot of APBA Hockey in the last few weeks. I kind of returned to it. I played a little bit last summer with the, I don't want to say the older version, but I had the older book and the whole bit. And it was okay. And I was like, I'm not ready for it yet. And then I saw Tebow made some videos, and I went back to some old APBA videos that other people made. And I was like, this looks really good. And I want one of those big books with the big charts. And maybe if I got the new model here, I could play it. And I got the new model in, and boy, I can't stop playing this game. When I told Ron that, Ron's like, well, that game was redesigned by a fan of the game, and he says we should get him on the show, and that's kind of how this whole thing came together. So again, thanks for coming on and talking some APBA Hockey.
Thank you very much.
We do have one question that we like to ask all our guests before we get going, and that question is, if you could go back in time and attend any sporting event, what event would that be?
All right. So does it mean I wasn't at the event?
That could have been one that you enjoyed so much. The ultimate one.
There's two. Super Bowl III. I'm a huge New York Jets fan.
Ooh.
He's got the Alabama Joe Namath helmet behind you. Yeah.
And you saw that, right? Yeah. So that's. So I root for Alabama because of Joe Namath, and so everybody's like, also all my teams stink, so at least you need one good team in your repertoire. So it would be Super Bowl III, I think, and if not Super Bowl III, that same season the AFL Championship game at Shea in '68, which was a great game against Oakland. So those two.
Was that the Heidi Bowl?
No,
it was not. It was played at Shea. Heidi Bowl was the first time the Jets played them in Oakland, and that game was played in the wind at Shea. Shea was notorious for the wind blowing in from center field, and there was a lot of wind. And Namath makes a throw to Don Maynard down the right sideline. That, honest to God, you see Pat Mahomes and you see Marino throwing the ball. This guy, it was amazing how it just cut through the air like that. And that I still watch that play, and I'm getting the goosebumps now. And so that was pretty amazing. But I was only 5 and I wasn't allowed to go. So that was that. But the other event was a hockey event, and it was Game 7 of the 93-94 semifinals when they were
against the Devils,
against the Devils. It's the famous Mateau game. I almost threw up when the Devils scored with like 2 seconds left to tie it, and going through overtime, it was just it was just such a nerve-wracking game, but it was a great game, and that event, I'd go back and relive that.
Oh, fantastic!
Were you there that night or watched on?
No, I was. A good friend of mine got tickets. And, great seats, and it was just a great game. And I still remember seeing the puck come out of the corner and going through Brodeur's leg, and it wasn't, you start to react, but it wasn't until the players started to react that we went nuts. It was just a blast.
No, that's great. Okay, so tell us, how did you start playing tabletop sports games? What was the first one you played? How did you get into it?
Sure. So a buddy of mine and I, we used to just use regular deck of cards and flip cards and sort of come up with, it was almost like a fast play soccer. We do hockey, and there was no real math behind it. But then he got a brochure for the baseball game. And we started playing. He ordered it, got it for Christmas, I think. And it was 75 baseball season. And so we started playing APBA Baseball, basic. But my first game was the basketball game, believe it or not. And,
oh my gosh!
Yeah, so I learned.
You've aged well.
Yeah, I'm still playing, as the old joke goes, still playing the first quarter of the game I started. But the short version of that game is actually pretty accurate, and there's a couple guys on the boards they're actually playing. One guy did a whole season and came out pretty close. So we've been using not with all the passing, but with the just quick play, with the short version. But then after that, it was football. And so it was mostly, played APBA Football for a while, and the old version and the new version. And then in I think it was the early '90s, they came out with the new basketball game and the new hockey game. And I'm a huge hockey fan. And they came out 92-93 was the first season, and then the Rangers won the Cup in 93-94. So there was no way I was not going to buy the game. And that's how I got. That's how I got to hockey. So it was about 1975 was my first time with APBA, and been playing ever since.
Okay. So you're playing the hockey game there, and then you start coming up on ideas how to maybe make it better. Can you walk us through some of that? Maybe I never played that old game, and maybe tell us a little bit about that and how it all evolved.
So when the game came out on the boards, not the APBA boards per se, but some Tabletop Sports and others, they were railing that game as not accurate. There was issues with shots on goal earlier. Assists were too low, things like that. And there were some basic things in hockey that just weren't part of the game. And so there were people on the APBA boards that had ideas, and then there was face-off hockey, which is like the creme de la creme of hockey board games at the time.
That would be Hockey Bones now.
Hockey Bones now, yeah. And you start taking some ideas from those types of games and what people are thinking about and things I would like to see. And that's how it sort of, evolved. And it was, I wanted to come up with something that if I didn't want to use it, I didn't have to, and it wouldn't affect everything else. And so that was the genesis of it. Just trying to correct some of the shots on goal, and then thinking situational hockey. And the original game did not have it, right? Didn't have power plays, didn't have neutral zone, in the zone face-offs. These are things you think about as just commonplace. And hockey is a matchup game in many ways, but I didn't want to do a matchup system that was cumbersome, like every play needed a matchup. So came up with a way to trigger a matchup system that and had additional ratings that would have players who were like the stay-at-home defenseman would become valuable, right? So you want that rating. The clear rating was there, but on an I rating or want them to win the into slot battles and things like that. Now that makes it valuable, right? And so so that was sort of the thought process, and it was just to add those things in and make the game a little bit more realistic. Somebody I read somewhere talked about wide shots. I said, yeah, damn, we should add that too. And that creates sort of a, maybe it's a little gimmicky, but it's a fun effect. Shots wide, bounces out, come out in front, score a goal, that type of thing. It's exciting. And I think that, some of the new things that they've done now with the tip-ins and the long passes, I think are really cool. Going back a few years, I was just going through a spreadsheet of some of the 70-71 Bruins actually. And I, APBA's done that set, but the old computer game used to have a rock rating. And so APBA has now used this tip in as sort of that rock. So the guys who are the high I in the slot guys can actually get a tip in. But the old computer game had a rock rating, had a speed rating, and those rock rated guys, and it's like Tim Kerr and Phil Esposito, would get more of those tip in chances. And so I was starting to think about a way to incorporate that into the player ratings. But I think the way APBA did it now is probably a lot easier. And so it's just, you play the game, you say, hey, what do I think's missing? But at the same time, you want it to stay playable. That was the game plan.
So how did it work? I mean, obviously you posted on the APBA boards on Delphi. You did a 70 or 71-72 replay.
Yep.
And so that obviously got some people's attention. Were they still in Lancaster at that point, or they moved to Georgia?
Yeah, no, they were still in Lancaster. So look,
how did that happen?
This is how it started. I'd always wanted APBA to do a retro hockey season. Right, so they did 92, 93, 93, 94. I think they went out through 95, 96, or 96, 97. And then the company went into a financial mess, right? The 98 football season didn't really get published by APBA until now, right? So 97 was the last football season. 98 didn't come out. I'm a huge Jets fan. Here we go. We make it to the AFC Championship game, and I don't have a card set to play with. The APBA Journal eventually put out a set. And so I realized that I was going to have to, do it myself, right? And so what's that Chinese proverb about, teach a man to fish, give a man a fish, feed him once and teach him to fish, and he eats forever. And so I just started making the cards. And so I carded up 71, 72 hockey at that time, and I started doing football sets too. And then I did 65 NFL and AFL. There was a sports game company called Sports Game Publishing. A gentleman named Francis Rose started it.
Yep.
It was sort of print on demand, and he asked me to make some sets for him, and I did. And 71, 72 was originally published by them. And then I said, look, why don't I just do this myself? But by then, APBA was a disaster, right? So they were in selling things out of their warehouse in Lancaster, doing anything they could do to keep the doors open. And so that's how I got started with it. And then when John took over, went back and forth a little bit in terms of maybe wanting to do my own thing. But end of the day, APBA puts together a good product. They don't need me to do this anymore. I still do it for myself, but they didn't need me to do it anymore. So that's how I started. It wasn't like I wanted to come in and take market share away from APBA. I don't think you could ever do that. And it was just out of necessity.
Now, the formula, it's not in the public domain, but easy to figure out.
I think look, there were articles in the APBA Journal that talked about how to do APBA hockey cards.
Okay, because I know that baseball has been pretty much solved.
Yes.
I wasn't sure if that was for the other sports.
Yeah, but for me, it turned into just a reverse engineering exercise, right? And so you sort of figure out, hey, how am I going to get this shot frequency? How am I going to get this, the numbers on the cards, that type of thing. And it started like that. For football, it was a whole article that series of articles by Howard Dog that sort of got me thinking. And then you have to tweak it yourself, because the whole thing, they're not going to give you everything. No. So that's how it worked for me. And then it's and those still built some spreadsheets and that was it, and then it's just algebra. I think a lot of people think it's really, really complicated, but it's not higher level mathematics. It's
we've told X it needs to start solving its own problems. Okay, we stop enabling X. I know Dave wants to talk a lot about the hockey. Let's talk a little bit about the football. You poor Jets fan, you. Any mods for that you've done that have made it in the game?
No, not officially. No. There were just things that I put together for myself, like a whole yards per catch system, so that your Don Maynards and your Matt Snells weren't getting both 12 yards a catch. One was
right.
one was 8. So I put that together for myself. I've published that for a few of the seasons I did. Greg Barrett, who's a good friend of mine, runs a site. Will occasionally put his yards per catch ratings.
He's tremendous. His tremendous replays.
He is, and so we've been good friends for a long time. And I made it through. Made friends with him. He's my best friend, and he contacted me when I made the '68 football set years ago, and that's been.
I remember reading. What do you did that for replay? I remember reading that.
Yeah. Greg recently. Well, Greg blows through football replays like most people go through underwear. But he did that '68 replay a few years back.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
now, for people who may not be familiar with APBA football and maybe stick with solitaire play, hint, over on my left there. How easy is it to pick up APBA as a solitaire game? How long does it take to play? Sell someone who may never have played it.
I think the beauty of APBA football is that you can make it as simple or as complex as you want, and so a lot of the add-ons, even that the game company does, are great. Like there's a basic game, there's a master game. You can get a game done in 90 minutes. Some people take 2 hours with full stats. Got to be patient, I guess. But guys like Greg and the contributors to his site, and Ray Dunlop.
We've talked about Greg, Dave, on the show.
Yeah, they put their innovations out there and their ideas out there, and Greg's made a series of videos that are for the person picking up the game the first time can really learn how to play it, and it includes the mods that he and I worked on together. I mean, one of the things about it is that he plays so much, you get a lot of empirical data from that, and so where you think the math might give you one answer, the empirical data tells you should tweak it a little bit, and so Greg and I have collaborated that way for many years, and so my point is, the football game is realistic. It produces realistic statistics. It is exciting to the extent that rolling the dice and doing things can be exciting for people. We've automated a bit. Creating your own locators that are more spreadsheet driven rather than having to do lookups and things like that. So it makes it a little smoother to play. There's the Football Helper program that's out there. You get it on Delphi. I forget who put that together. But so there's a lot of people who've made it easy, and you just need to spend a little time reading on that, and maybe just play the game basic for a little bit just to figure it out. And it's really pretty. It's a lot of fun.
So back to the hockey game. Was it your formula that they used to create? Because I think every season's available now, Dave, isn't it?
Pretty much. Not everyone, but there's a lot.
There is a lot now. It's mostly been reverse engineered. I think there's some tweaks to between what I did and what they've done, and even now you can see there's been some tweaks between some of the older seasons that came out and even some of the newer seasons. So no, it's not nothing from me.
Okay. How compatible are those card sets?
They're very compatible. Okay. I mean, if you sit down and look at, I just pulled out my 2014-15 set, did a calculation on Henrik Lundqvist's card, and the numbers were exactly the same. So either we've cracked the nut two different ways and came up with the same answer, but yeah, they're compatible.
All right, so if I were to buy a set now, and I just bought a whole bunch of seasons, are they all, quote, the newer stuff that would work, or am I buying older cards at any point now?
All brand new.
Oh, brand new. Okay.
All brand new. I think I read your post. All the sets you bought are newly published by the game company.
Okay.
And anyway. So,
okay.
Timeline wise, when did they adopt what we would consider your version 2.0?
2005 was when version 2, 2005, 2006 is when version 2 came out with the add-on.
Okay. How long were you working on that?
Since 94. I mean, when I was doing that set, when I did that replay took like 5 years, and so that you start realizing that certain things were off, and so you start working on it, and then you start reading in the journal and on the posts on the forums. So by the time I got to 2005, 71, 72, the stats came out great. There were some issues with defenseman assists that you'll see on the boards now, where you talk about defensemen having too many assists. But that's still there. But yeah, it just took that long to make sure it played right and got the right numbers.
Was there one player in that 93, 94 set that just went, it just irked you so much, like, I got to fix this. I know I can fix this.
No, I wouldn't say that. To me, it was more looking at total league, let's say shots on goal being low by like 4 shots a game, or penalty minutes not being distributed right. That's what it was. It wasn't one player, because you could then modify things so that every player fits within that mod.
Right.
That okay. And that's kind of how I focused on it, and just wanted to make sure that, the one thing when you do these types of additions, and Greg Barrett calls it the yin and the yang. I mean, you add something, you got to be careful what the knock-on effect to that addition is. So you need to make sure that you haven't done anything to skew something else.
Absolutely. I just kind of wondered that, though, because you're such an intense fan, and hear the ding, I keep waiting for the duck to come out of the ceiling to hit me $500.
Sorry, guys.
That'd be very nice. Like, where have you been the last 15 years? Just because you're so familiar with that, especially the 93, 94 Rangers and Devils, because of what that season meant. If there's like, no, I know this isn't right, but
no, there was nothing like that. I mean, sometimes you'll find a card that is, this is definitely not right, and it's usually just an error. It's whether it's the game company. I've done it too. You create.
Oh, sure.
And then I'm playing. I'm going, what? So sometimes like that, but nothing from the individual player cards that really got me thinking.
Okay. So let me dive right back into the hockey here, full bore here. I've kind of played hockey my whole life, just a recreational player. I'm not that good, but I played for a long time. And my big thing with hockey games is just I never felt like I was really playing hockey, especially with video games. It was always just get to the puck, go from point A to point B to the net and take a shot. And, now you can play along the boards, but I can't, my fingers don't hit all the buttons that you need to hit. So the video game thing, even though they're trying, it's still like watching 7-year-old soccer. Everyone gets the ball and goes to the net, is kind of how it is. So yeah, that's how I describe it. But with the cards and dice games, it's you get a little bit different feel. This game here, I tell you, as a hockey player, again, not a top level player, but just a guy who's played the game, who's watched the game a long time, I feel like there's so much in this game, especially with defense. And you talked earlier about the defenseman contributing. I never felt any game had as much defense in it as this game here. So that's my first thing I wanted to say, is that I like the fact that now, and Ron talked about other games that I've played. They're very offensive games, and that's what you want. You want to score the goals. But this here, again, defensemen play a big part in this game. So what I wanted to ask you is, I'm playing this game. I'm using every feature in the game for the first time. And I'm not a long-time tabletop player. I'm fairly new to this, okay, as we talked about on the show. But I am trying to play every single option in the game, which is a first for me. Usually there's something I just don't like or I can't understand. So I'm playing every option in this game. Mm-hmm. How many of these features that I'm playing today are your ideas? And what's your favorite one? What's your favorite feature in this game that you put in it? And what are some of the other ones that I'm playing that you can say, yep, I put that into the game?
Okay. So I think in the current game, version 2 didn't have the tip-ins, didn't have the long passes. Like I said, I haven't played in a long time, and I have not played the new version. All the other add-ons are things that were in version 2. So the neutral zone, the defensive zone face-offs, the special teams charts, and things like that were things that I put together and made it into the game.
What's your favorite one?
I'm thinking. I think the matchup stuff really is cool. Because I always try to think of a way to make it maybe happen a little bit more. But I didn't want to destroy the playability, and so people you probably could tweak it and do it. But that was my favorite.
Okay.
When you get a penalty shot or get a breakaway coming off that, it is just like, and your heart's in your throat, particularly if it's a 71-72 Bruin coming in on Gilles Villemure, on the Rangers.
Yeah.
So that's probably my favorite piece.
When I'm playing this game here, when I first played it last summer, I played a little bit, and I was like, okay, a shot is blocked. How much fun can that be? Now I'm playing, and a block shot can be a big part of this game where it can bounce right back to you, and you get a shot +1. Maybe you lose control of the puck. So the block shots, as humdrum as they are, they actually play a part in the game. Line changes. Holy cow. The dump and chase line changes. How you can beat a guy into the corner to get the puck, send it out front. If he wins the matchup, he gets a shot. I've scored a couple of goals that way. Who would have thought that line changes could generate a scoring chance? That's ingenious to me. That's the first thing that stuck out.
But it's the only game I know of that uses that. I mean, Strat doesn't use it, and Action PC doesn't use it. You can't get a bad line change in Action PC.
You could. It's part of what hockey is, right? These are things that happen in hockey, and so that the dump and chase and things like that were. I don't know did I read it? Did I come up with it? I don't remember, but I just remember saying that dump and chase. You hear him talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And so I hear you. And there's tweaks you could do on top of this.
Yeah.
If you follow some of the stuff on the boards, there's the Phil Esposito thread. And there's another thread if you do some research on block shots with Doug Reese and myself and a gentleman named Ken who's out in Switzerland, who plays a ton of this game. And so there's additional things you can do.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, that is I agree with you.
It's little stuff like that is so much. Now, how I play, and let me know if I'm doing it wrong. Again, there's tweaks, whatever. But what I do is if the Bruins get the dump and chase, they dump in, and I change their line like they've dumped it in. And then the defenseman that's on the ice for, say, the Rangers, he's the guy that's going to get the matchup play. Okay, so let's just say Busick dumps it into the corner, and I get Sealing back there. Let's say, and so I check Sealing against the player coming on for Boston is how I do it. Mm-hmm. And then if the Rangers win the matchup, then Sealing has to dump it in, and then they'll do the change. Is kind of how I do it. So on the dump in, I don't change both lines at the same time.
No. I think you're doing it right.
And so
I can see people doing it both ways, but you're right. Busick would dump, they would change. Next line would come out. The forward on that side would then go against Sealing. Now, you could even tweak that, right? You could call, maybe even drop Sealing's rating.
I thought about that because he's a little tired at the end of the shift. Yeah. I did think about that. Say maybe dropping down by 1 in the corner or something like that.
You could do that. Yep.
Yeah, so that's how I do line too. But I tell you, it's been fun. That it comes out front, and I get a shot on that. So yeah, so defense is a big part of the game. Block shots, line, all these little things are happening in the game that really makes it feel like a hockey game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me see here. Go ahead, Ron.
Were you the one that came up with the ODAI, or was that in the game?
No, that was part of the original game.
I always think that's a terrible name. I was kind of really taken back by that. That's one of the things I had a hard time with last summer was figuring out that and doing things on the fly. And okay, a 7's going to turn to a 6, and a 6 is going to turn to a 7. The ODAI is just so menacing. It doesn't flow off the. I would have been fine with DA, defensive adjustment, just a DA.
Yeah, I hear you.
It just doesn't. It's daunting. It's like ODAI. It's like, oh my gosh, what is this?
Yeah, no, I know. It's just an extra long acronym. But yeah, it's just a defensive adjustment.
Let's see. Was there anything that you wanted to include in the game, but for one reason or another, you didn't put in or didn't make it into the game?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the computer game had the rock rating. I think APBA's done that with tip-ins now, which I really like. Haven't played with it, but I really like the concept. So the rock rating, maybe incorporate a speed rating. One thing that I did start to do, and it was with the 91-92 set I did, and some people out there actually own this thing. I adjusted the assist ratings for everyone based on the amount of goals they were on the ice for. And so Total Hockey actually has that. And so, a guy like Lemieux in 91, 92 would have like a 63 assist rating. But when you adjust it for goals that he didn't score when he was on the ice, its ratings of 44. Now, I'd still use that. But I never really got it formal and never got it into an update for APBA Hockey. But it was my way of coming up with a way to get defensemen not to have too many assists because they play a lot of minutes.
Right.
And so it was just something to think about. That I really wanted to do.
Okay. Let me see. Do you have any future plans as it pertains to games or game design or revamping anything else?
Man, I with the football, I still tweak things for myself. Greg and I will go back and forth on some stuff. Hockey, I think I'm going to get back into. I think I've been wanting to do this 91-92 replay for years. I think at some point I will. It's just hockey replays are daunting. If the game plays faster, like you could get a game done in 75 minutes, right? But just getting it prepped and ready to do it, I don't think I'd tweak anything. I think the game's pretty cool right now. But let me stop. So there's a gentleman named Doug Reese who's on the boards a lot, plays a lot of hockey now. And we talked about block shots, and they were not getting enough block shots. And part of the reason is you don't have a lot of shot attempts in APBA. The shot's either on goal or it's intercepted, right? And so you need to create a way to create more block shots. And we came up with a way, but you need a third dice. So all those, and this is all posted. So, it's out there somewhere. So if you do an advanced search on block shots in APBA, you'll find the post. But essentially what it does is it takes all those interception numbers and let's call it in forecheck 2. And then if a dice roll of 5 or 6 comes up as a third dice roll, then the shot's blocked. And so you could just roll 3 dice. And so when I talk about empirical stuff, I went back and did some quick math and came up with that. And then Ken has been playing a lot, and his shots were still blocked shots were almost double what he had, but now they were right or close to right, but he still needed to tweak it a little bit. And so that's where the empirical stuff comes in. And so you do it, it doesn't affect the game, but now you have a lot more block shots like there are in real life. So
how far back does that data go?
For current seasons, it's available.
Right, but
I don't think it was
it out there for 91, 92?
No, you have to.
Okay,
that's qualitative, right? It's like, what have you heard about a
right,
or a forward back then? So that's all qualitative stuff. But so are the intimidation ratings and things like that. So those are more qualitative as well. So, but yeah, you're right. They don't go back that far, but. The work these guys were doing were on the more modern season, so you actually had some data, and so it was pretty cool. Came up, and when I saw the note on the board, I was like, oh, let me go take a look. So that piqued my interest of coming back and playing again.
Yeah, so the idea would be you would roll 3 dice. 3 die, whatever, and if a 5 or a 6 come up on the third dice, then that the interception by the left wing would actually be off a block shot.
Would be a block shot.
Oh, would be a block shot.
And then you go to the block shot.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it would be. So you go and find out what the disposition of the puck was, and so yeah, that's how it would be.
Is it ever awkward playing a game that you had a heavy hand in redesigning?
Nah, I mean, I think it makes it more fun for me. It's why I don't play the computer games, because you can't do these mods, right?
Yeah.
We all do our thing, and so I like the board game because I can play it the way I want to play it, and so it's not awkward at all, unless somebody comes and tells me, man, you really screwed that up. My block shots are not 3 times the amount, and I'm getting all kinds of crazy events, but I haven't heard that happen. So No, not awkward.
I just didn't know, because I like to ask people that have created games, because you spend so much time creating the game, the trees to the forest type of thing. I just didn't know that. Could you actually step back from all this and just play the game and enjoy it? So it sounds like you can.
No, definitely, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Let me see here. Tell us about your full season hockey replays. Now, I'm doing one with shootout hockey, which is a 15-minute game. So it's much faster than an APBA or a Strat or anything like that. So tell us about it. How did you prepare for it? How long did it take? What can I expect if I ever want to do this?
Oh, man. So when I did 93, 94, I did it right out of the box. Stock teams, didn't do trades or things like that. But when I did 71, 72, what I did, and, Ron, you mentioned about stats not being available. You couldn't get, minor, major, or misconduct stats. So I actually own every hockey news that was published from 1967 through 1978, 79.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
So when I created those...
That's not something you put on a Tinder profile, by the way.
Matter of fact, I was at work this morning. We did an all-hands call, and I told them that I was on this podcast, Dave, and they were like, "Man, you are a geek." And I was like, "Yeah," and I love it, and I'm proud of it. But
you still have them?
I still have them, yeah.
Awesome.
My wife is begging me to get rid of them. But
she is.
But I went through every box score and identified like who got majors and who got misconducts and did things like that. And so I think it's a little easier now. I think Hockey Reference might actually have some of the boxes in there. But
NHL actually went back and redid all their stuff online too. So you can go back. That's what I do. I go back to 70, 71, and I call up the actual game to see who the goalies were, and I use the actual goalies.
That's what I did with 71, 72. So I didn't have those sites. It's easier now.
Yeah, no, it's easier now. As a teen, I drove my mother nuts because I saved every copy of the Sporting News for years, and so I had every baseball box score from like all of the 80s. They eventually got thrown out, but I exactly know what you mean. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I managed to get a library card for a library in Missouri that actually had all the stuff online. And I forget the name, and I still have it. And so
Joplin, isn't it?
I don't know, and so I forget now. But I'll go on the site and go to the Washington Post or the New York Times and things like that, and go look up in the archives if I want to find out what the lineup was. So Dave, I mean, look, I think you're already doing it. If you're going back to 70, 71 and doing that research, it's a little easier. You could see the box, you could see who the starting goalies were.
So what am I looking at? What did you say? It took you 3 to 5 years to play this full season?
It took me 5 years to do 93, 94, and that was largely I had kids at the time, and I wasn't playing all the time. 71, 72, I started it in 02. I was done in 2.5 years. So which is pretty fast when you're playing all those games. So 2.5 years on that replay.
Now, like Ron always tells me, he says, how did you get through the part, middle of the season, 3/4 of the way through the season? You get two really bad teams that are out of the playoffs. How do you play that game and enjoy it?
So Greg and I talk about this all the time. Those are the best games because they're evenly matched up, and so you end up with a nice tight hockey game. I hate the middle of the year games when it's 70-71 Bruins going against California Golden Seals, and all of a sudden you're 7-0 2/3 of the way through the second period. You're like, do I really want to finish rolling?
Those are my favorite.
Yeah, you're a Bruins fan. So if you're a Golden Seals,
don't notice the Golden Seals pennant behind him, though.
Yeah.
I mean, Gardner is the king of I love the bad team. Ask him, if you have another hour, ask him about the 76 Buccaneers.
I will. But only team that's any good for me is Alabama. So I'm hoping the Jets get better, Mets get better. But yeah, I hear you, man.
So you didn't have a problem playing those games that didn't mean anything at some, No.
I think it's the dog days of a replay. I think sometimes you get them, but you push through. And for me, there were two things, and not everybody's like this. I really truly enjoy playing the game, but I really enjoy doing the stats after the game and seeing how it changed my league stats. Mm-hmm. And that makes you just want to go on to the next.
Did you ever take a break And how long was the break?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that 93-94 season there was a big break. It might have been a year, 2 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then I've told you I haven't played the hockey game since the Stanley Cups of that 71-72 replay, and that was done in 2005.
Oh wow.
Who won it?
Bruins did in 6. They didn't beat the Rangers. They ended up beating the Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh, I was going to say I thought the Blackhawks would get there. Yeah.
The Bruins stats came out just like spot on. Their standings came out. I was very happy with that. And then same thing with football. It's been, I hadn't played football in a while. Now it's all I play, and so yeah. There's always things like that. I guess it's you guys have got me interested again with the hockey. I was starting to look back at my 91-92 cards that I put together, and I'm keen on maybe rolling a few games and using the new tip-in rules and long pass rules.
Have you gotten the Jets to win a Super Bowl?
I have not. I got them to a Super Bowl.
Okay, which one?
In 81 instead of the Bengals.
Yes, it was Richard Todd. Yeah,
Richard Todd, and I got them there, and they lost
to San Francisco.
Yeah,
or Dallas.
To San Francisco, and it was sort of bittersweet because I was like, if they win, everybody's going to think I just fudged it. But yeah, they got there. I had 82 with APBA's cards, got them to the AFC Championship game. Greg, I know Greg's gotten them there a few times, but he's come up a loser. So every time he's gotten them there.
So when you got him to the 82 Championship game, did you take AJ Dewey and take him on a snipe hunt then?
No, actually, they played the Bengals in my replay because I did a full season replay, and Freeman McNeil actually was going in for a game tying touchdown and fumbled, and the ball went through the back of the end zone, and I was like, this is like
holy Kevin Mack, Batman.
That made me actually feel like a real Jet fan. So because that happened in real life.
Growing up a Bengals fan, I won't say I have a lot of sympathy for that, but no, I mean that's fun. And obviously, when you did 93-94, who'd you get in the final?
The Devils and the Blues, and the St. Louis Blues ended up winning the Stanley Cup. Ooh. And what's interesting, it's what got me to stop playing with stock teams, because the Blues had got Peter Nedved late in that season, and Curtis Joseph's card is just outrageous. And they were just, I couldn't believe it. I mean, the Blues were first round knockout, and they ended up winning the cup. And that Devils team, that 93-94 team, that as a carded team, is better than the Rangers team. Brodeur and Terrari are just dynamite. And then, when you get Phil Dowd, it was Phil Dowd, I don't think it's Phil Dowd, but Jim Dowd, who didn't play a ton, but you could use him on the third and fourth lines. His card's really good too. So that's a quality team.
You've mentioned that you don't play stock a couple times in this. You do draft leagues.
I don't do draft leagues. When I say stock, I mean I do the trades, right?
Oh, okay.
So I'll take it back, yeah, and so that's the way I kind of do it. I think draft leagues, you could do it; it's fun, but normalizing between seasons is not easy to do. I think trying to compare, the 70-71 Bruins with the Tampa Bay Lightning now. That 70-71 Bruin team is one of the greatest of all times. But, I'm not saying Tampa Bay is a great of all time, but they're a good team. Could they play in this? It's a different game now.
It's a completely different game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't get into that. But, there's people who do, and it's cool. And then you're allowed to do that with the board gaming.
Okay. Let's see. Before we get on to questions from the listeners here, Ron, you got anything else for Mark before we wrap up? Okay, good. All right, so let's get on to some of the questions here from the listeners. Let's see. Rupert asks, is there any way to play a quick play game in APBA hockey?
Not that I know of. It hasn't, as far as I know, it hasn't been developed. I mean, there's a few quick play games out there. Mm-hmm. So I would just,
yeah, because I think what he was trying to do was he wanted to play some full games and then fill in scores. So I think you might have to go to a final score Downey or a shootout easy or something.
I know this is an APBA form, but we played basketball when they send you their yearbooks for basketball seasons. They give you a quick play chart, so you can play your team and then quick play everybody else. So it can be done.
Just not with APBA, though, right? Yeah. Okay. Tony asks, is there a way of getting data to convert the older cards to the existing games, the ratings for block shots, I rating, etc.? Is there a resource online that does this?
There could be online. I know in version 2 of the game, it was included in the rules. So how to calculate all those ratings was in there, and how to calculate, the assist per game rating, the bench minor rating, as well as the power play rating. So yes, there is a way to do that. And I think if APBA, if you contact APBA, they could give you that. I don't know if it's in the manual now, but it's out there and somebody will have it.
Okay.
So either on the boards, or if you need to contact me directly, just contact me directly.
The bench minor rating penalty thing, was that something that you would put in the game? Was that already there?
No, I put it in.
I kind of like that. It comes up once in a while. It's very rare, but it does happen, and I think that does add to the game.
It'll come up. The power play piece too. I just wanted the special teams to matter.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, Dave. No.
Yeah, no. That's just something else that adds to the game, is those things there. Stefan asks, any chance of you working on the basketball game?
No. So just between us as people here, I did start trying to do something years ago. Matter of fact, started doing a 73-74 Knicks replay. Stats were good, but I'll be clear, replay basketball was so good. I said, I cannot make a game.
It's a tremendous game. It really is.
And so I just stopped.
I see. Okay.
Why 73-74? I mean, there's 69-70 and 72-73 for the years.
I think I was old enough to really remember watching games.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Matter of fact, one of my first NHL seasons I put together was 73-74 NHL. I still remember the Flyers Rangers series going 7 in the semis, and that was a pretty intense series. So that's kind of how that my memory going back to that.
Let's see. Dave asks. Actually, a few people have asked this one here. When you're adding bonuses to the shot rating, like a +2 on the power play, or a +10 for the man advantage, or a +1 on a rebound, or something like that, is it always base 6? Meaning, if you have a 26, that will not go to 27. A 26 will increase to 31. Correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's all base 6.
All base 6.
So +1 on a 26 is 31, and then +10 is your 36.
Okay. How about a player with a 0 shot rating? If he gets a bonus, what happens to that player?
You allow it to go through. Matter of fact, it was just a couple of questions on the boards about that, where somebody was talking about that. Yeah, you can actually have it happen. So you have a 0 rating and he's on the power play, and the team gets a +1 or +2 boost, or it's an in the slot shot from a rebound. Yeah, he can score.
Okay, so if he got a +2 bonus, would be a 12.
Would be a 12.
Okay,
scoring is low, but it can happen.
Because I had that happen to me. Because I just played the 1-2-3-2-1 system. 4 minutes for each in a period. I'm just starting out, so I don't have a power play unit. So I had Tony Twist from the Quebec Nordiques on a power play.
Wow!
Again, and people ask, why would you have that? Well, I had that because it's in the middle of the period, and that's when the third line's out there. And he had a shot rating of 0. So I was like, well, is it a 0, or with a +2, would I give him a 12? So I gave him the 12. I didn't get it on net, so I didn't have to worry about it. But
that's the way I would do it. I mean, some people.
Yeah. Now, in the rules, it does say if you're playing 4-on-4 because of coincidentals, a shot 0 remains shot 0 on a 4-on-4.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So,
I don't remember writing that. So it might have been something that got added after.
Okay.
But it kind of makes sense in a 4-on-4, but on a power play or in the slot or a block, I would allow it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. People could.
Right. Okay. Let's see here. We got a question on ties. If there's a tie on a matchup play, or a tie in the corner, or a tie in the slot, or any time that you have two players going head to head and it's identical numbers, how do you handle that? How are we supposed to handle that?
I've always done it where the tie goes to the defensive team. So there's an offensive player, defensive player would go to the defense. But when you think about it, maybe you could do a home ice advantage, and say the home ice team would win. That's actually, now I think about it, that's probably even better. Just to make that.
Is there a home ice built in?
No, there is. The only place you see it is on as far as I remember, is on the face-off chart.
Yeah, I was going to ask. There's really no way that. Because when I first played the game, I said, the two things I'm missing is a home ice advantage and breakaways. I don't really see a lot of breakaways happening in the game. They would happen to.
One thing, Dave, you got me thinking. When you talk about dump and chase, you can actually tweak how you play the dump and chase based on who the home team is and who the visiting team is, and maybe you always make the home team the one who instigates the dump. And that'll give them a little bit of an advantage, particularly if you adjust the visiting team's grade lower because they have fatigue or something like that. So you can do it, but it wasn't contemplated when I did the add-ons.
Okay, yeah, because it didn't specifically say, because I know there was somebody streaming APBA Hockey the other day, and we were watching, and they had a matchup play, and it was a tie. He goes, boy, what do I do? And he's going through the rule book. We just couldn't see where it said to resolve a tie, and I guess it might be a rare thing, but
no, it's probably not that rare. It probably should be in there.
So I guess there's two ways: either go to defense, so the home team has to win the result, or you could just, if it's a tie, give it to the home team.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, good. Let me see here. I think that's all I got for. Oh, one more question from Sean. Sean says, "What's your favorite hockey team, any league, and why is that your favorite team?"
Rangers. We talked about them already. Lifelong. When I'm first generation American. My parents are born in Malta, and when they came to the United States, hockey was the sport they adopted. And,
really?
Yes. And my grandmother, who could barely speak English, but she could say Esposito, Gretzky, Hatfield, was a huge, huge Rangers fan. And when the Rangers won the Cup in 93, 94, I think she might have been 94 years old, but she was up. And I called her. And she was the first person I talked to, because she'd been suffering. I think, just think about this. She was 94 when they won. She was 46 the time 44 the time they won it before. So yeah, I called her up. She was ecstatic. So it was that. I grew up around hockey. And the thing is, somebody asked me this question today. Oh, you worked on a hockey board game, and I said, yeah. I go, did you ever play? I go, nope. Can you ice skate? Nope. Huh. Can't even roller skate. So, but yeah,
Me neither.
I've been around hockey my whole life in terms of watching it.
If something I didn't think of. You obviously had a lot of foresight to put down what you wanted to in writing, and got the game company, any game company, to officially adopt a lot of what you wanted. If someone is playing a game and wants to make those suggestions to change whatever, it doesn't have to be hockey or APBA or anything like that. Mm-hmm. What advice would you give someone who, might have some very well thought out intentions to making a game better? How would you recommend going about doing that?
Yeah, I tell you, I think the forums are a great spot for that. I think one thing, make sure you've played it for a while and gotten good numbers, and so that you don't blow yourself up when you put it out there. But that's kind of how it happens now. The tweaks to the football game and even other tweaks to the hockey game. It's just, you talk amongst yourselves and you just do it. And then, the game company is pretty open-minded. They have, their reasons for not adopting some things, but they've adopted certain things into their games because they realize that people want it and that the innovation's good. So reaching out to APBA, reaching out to Strat, and sometimes they'll tell you to bleep off, and sometimes it'll be okay. They'll adopt it.
You didn't play softball with anybody that happened to work in Glen Head, did you?
Well, I used to actually live in Roslyn Harbor, and so I used to get off at the Glen Head train station and spit at the Strat building. So it was right there. But no, I didn't play softball.
I'm not going to mention any names, but okay. He does rub a lot of people differently.
Yeah, no, I've heard that.
Yeah. That's good. We have any others, Dave?
No, that's all the questions I got here. I'm pretty sure that I got them all. But yeah, anyway, so Mark, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I just started playing the game. I love it. I love what you did with it. I know it took you a lot of time to do it, and I'm really glad that APBA took your suggestions. You know what I mean? Again, they could have said go away, but I guess your suggestions and the other people that helped you out or whatever it was were good enough to say, hey, let's put this in the game. So kudos to you for sticking with it, and kudos to them for having an open mind and taking on this game. Because again, there's so much in this game. As someone who's played the game and watched the game for years, that's not in other games. And this is not a knock on other games by any means, because I play other games for different reasons. But this one here, and Ron will attest to some reason, I had a hard time getting everything in the game acclimated and learning it. But the bulk of this game, I was having a blast, and I can't stop playing it. And
I'll say this, because we've talked about it offline before, and I'll say it to Mark. There's the infamous Facebook meme of it's either Sally or Peppermint Patty looking, out at you going, only in math would no one question why you would eat 50 cantaloupes or something like that. And so, Dave talks a lot about flow in games. And so when you do the little bit of addition or subtraction or whatever it is to get that, you see the immediate results on that. It's not that, Mark has 40 cantaloupes and Dave has 10 pine trees. What time do you get to Hackensack? It's like, so when you see that, it's like, no, you can visualize what the end result is. And I think I've compared shootout, the highlight game, to the 2 minutes that you used to see maybe with Stan Fischler, because SportsCenter never did highlights. Mm-hmm. Stratomatic, in my view, is kind of like the condensed game you would see on NHL.com. And for what APBA's been described, it's like you're turning on Sam and watching a Rangers game.
And the beauty of it is you could visualize it. If you don't have an imagination, then it's just
then no board game is going to be good for you if you don't have an imagination.
But you could visualize the play.
So that's the thing. And I think you've been kind of caught off guard by that, Dave.
I was, because it's a long game, and I'm not a big fan of the long games. Again, that's why I like the shootout hockey and things like that, because it plays a little quicker. But this, again, it's like this. You're sitting down for a meal, and you're getting a 7-course meal with this game, and you really are. And there's so much, again, from the dump-ins to the defensive play, and as Ronald tested, I'm not a big fan of doing math on the fly, because for me, when I got to stop and do math, the game stops, and if it does it enough times, I lose interest because the game stops flowing. Mm-hmm. For some reason, I got this math to flow where it's like, okay, 31, it's a shot on goal, 4-check, 10. I got it down so I can look at the three guys real quick and go like, 3, 4, 7. Oh, no, that's not. That's going to be good. Or so I've gotten to a point where I can really kind of get the math done quickly in this game.
The block shot thing really struck you when Wesley and Bork were on the ice together for those 90-91 Bruins. Anything that was in the block shot range was going to be an automatic because they were a +2.
Yeah, they had a 5 between them. They were a 5-block shot. So instantly, anytime someone took a shot with Bork and Wesley out there, if it was a block 1 or a block 2, I just go right to the block shot. I don't even got to roll on it because I know there's going to be blocked.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of things like that just make it easy. And sometimes there's a little bit of memorization with different people out there. But, yeah, I'm not a fan of math on the fly in games because I think it slows the game. But for some reason, this works.
That's what killed the original basketball game, right? They've had to come up – now that with Excel spreadsheets and things like that, you can do those calculations a little quicker. But the hockey game, thankfully, it's some math. And as long as you know where to look, that's really the hard part because, like, you start looking everywhere. That's when you lose it. But you know where to look. Then it becomes just through repetition. It becomes.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. Looking up the math has actually become a little game of its own for me because I was playing Quebec 90-91 Quebec, and it's like if the intimidation rating is 14, I look and it's like 1, 1, 1. It's like, I don't even need to go any further. Quebec's not gonna intimidate them. But then they go against Boston, and it's like Bourque's a 5, Neely's a 5. It's like, oh, forget it. I don't even have to go any further. You're not, they're gonna take the puck away.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of fun things like that. But anyway, so again, it's Mark Zarb, and he was responsible for redesigning what was version 2 of APBA Hockey, and I guess they're on a version 3 right now where they've added a few more things in here, and that's the one that I'm playing here. But anyway, thank you so much for coming on the show and talking about how it happened, a little bit about yourself, and answering a few questions for us.
No worries. Look, gentlemen, thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
It was fun. So
all right.
Thank you.
Hang on, don't hang up just yet. But we're gonna talk to you backstage and give you some parting gifts. Maybe, maybe not. Ron has some pineapple pizza he wants to give you.
No, I don't. I might have some cremettes though.
All right, Mark. Thank you so much.
You got it, guys.
And by the numbers, episode 84 of the Digital Dice podcast, the Randy Moss episode here. And boy, what a great conversation we just had with Mark Zarb.
Fantastic. It just goes to show that a good company will listen to their player base and make the changes required. And, Mark is not a game designer per se. I was surprised that he said he hadn't played in so long, weren't you?
Yeah, and he doesn't skate. He's just a fan of the game, and he banged it out. And he hadn't played in a long time, and now he's got the itch to play again. So good for him. And
so it just goes to show that if you mind your P's and Q's and do your homework and show your work, that you can get changes made.
Yeah. And changes for the better from what it sounds like, because
Absolutely.
I'm enjoying this game immensely, this APBA hockey game. And now you guys got me thinking about getting APBA football. You guys got to stop.
Look, it's my job to be the pusher. I don't like it when I read that other people buy games on your suggestion.
Oh, here we are. So anyway, hey, one thing I wanted to mention before we sign off, issue 5 of the Sports Sim magazine. Yeah, Sports Sim magazine issue 5 is out now. We're going to put a link on the Facebook group there, so be sure to check out issue 5 of the Sports Sim magazine.
There's a profile on us.
Yep,
right?
there's an article about us. I did an article. You did an article.
What was your article about?
Shootout hockey.
And I did one on trying to find the right PC hardware for rolling those virtual dice.
Yeah, so it's a big one. I just got the PDF, and it's a big magazine this month. Yep. There's a lot to it. So go check that out. We'll put the link on our Facebook group there. But it's a Sports Sim magazine. They're on Facebook too. You want to search them out.
They're on Facebook, and you can buy print copies. They will print one.
Yes, it's print on demand. Yeah, I have a few.
Quality is tremendous on that, by the way.
Oh yeah, I have a few of the magazines here. I've ordered a copy myself and have them here, and they're nice.
Roberto Schiavini's got a complete game. He's the centerfold this month.
Yes, he is. Yep, he is. So good for Roberto getting in the game, and also
Marco's in there.
Marco,
cover story.
Regular season basketball is the cover story. Yes, so that's some terrific articles in there. Tim Plum has a nice article in there as well. So go check out Sports Sim magazine issue number 5. And I think it's Midnight Writers news publication, MWN Publications, if you want to look that up on Google.
We'll post a link on the Facebook group, which I believe is now at 689, 690.
Oh, we're getting up there. The Facebook group is really getting up there. So thanks, everybody, for doing that. So anyway, I'm Dave.
I'm Ron.
And up next is episode 85 next week. Holy cow, 85 episodes. I can't believe it.
Scary.
That'll be next week. Talk to everybody later.
Bye-bye.